like what is this? Yeah, non-literary texts and others. All of those ones are related to what we will be discussing or tackling today. So we start off by distinguishing characteristics of online journ and your traditional journ. I think we've covered news writing, yes, in non-lit. What other subjects did you cover news writing or journalism? Hello.
Wala pa, sir. Ngayon?
Anong topics niyo sa non-lit or sa ibang subjects na ano?
Ay,
Nature of
hindi pa ako enrolled sa Nanlit.
wala. Sino ang nasa non-lit? Where
Um,
is
ako,
everyone?
meron po ako nandito, sir. Ang pinag-aaralan po namin is yung about sa mga news article ng mga like Rappler, Inquirer, mga ganun po.
Ayun. So it's more into the it's I think it's actually suitable that non-lit and CMC goes together because you just mentioned Rappler and then when you look actually when you have when you have non-lit. Thank you for sharing. There are some students who think that it's a journalism subject. It's not a journalism subject. You're studying the nature of non-literary text. So you're supposed to know how to distinguish and understand what is the nature or what are the facets of this text so that you know how to study them. In CMC, taking those into account into computer mediated communication, we are supposed to learn and we're supposed to understand how does this fit into the current or into the situation in terms of medium. So if the text comes off as a newspaper like traditional journalism, what does this mean? And if it comes out as a Rappler article or a INQ Inquirer 7 INQ.net article, and other online articles, what does this mean or how does this translate to readers? So of course distinguishing those characteristics make us more understand and make us more appreciative of these different types of text and how they become a source for data or for analysis or for linguistic study or scholarship later on. Basically what sets both apart is of course CMC is because of the medium. So when you talk about online, we're also referring to something that is real time. So it can be published in real time. You update your breaking news and events as they happen. There's nothing new in here because you've had this ability with telegraph, radio, and TV live reports before. However, in terms of online, there's this idea of shifted time and it you take advantage of your shifted time. What does this mean? You can publish and archive articles for viewing now or later, just as these broadcast publications then. However, World Wide Web articles or World Wide Web data or what's this files can be infinitely easier to access. So you have more opportunities or you have more time, you have more accessibility, which is related to the subject or to the topic that was closed last time, which is your issues of power and access. That is why notes this internet is really a very huge issue. As you can see, or I hope you have read the whole chapter on, actually that's a very nice topic about issues of power and access because it shows that in certain areas where there is where poverty is rampant, although medyo ang Pilipinas tayo we have a different situation. Why or how? We don't have enough money for food, but we would rather buy a cell phone, parang ganon, di ba? So I think that's a common idea that we already have, kaya medyo may issue yung sa I forgot na who owned that research or who did that, yung parang sinabi niyang one of the key things that you can see, especially in the Philippine setting, is that a family is first and foremost supposed to have a television, but the television was replaced by something more accessible, something that is more handheld, something that is more symbolic, which is your mobile phone. And so people before, in the 90s and the early 2000s, they would invest in television, in a television set or a refrigerator, etc. But when the cell phone came out in the early 2000s, Nokia was the first one who came in. I remember our very first phone was Alcatel. It has only two lines in the screen, and then the text is very huge when you're going to type in there. All of these ones came out in the early 2000s, and of course it shifted or it changed the dynamics of our economic system, and how it also affects the social status, or the representation of the social classes. So nangyari doon will be, people are starting to invest in it. They want to own one instead of owning a television, which is much more expensive. Why don't you buy a cell phone, which becomes a symbol of status at the same time? And when this happens, of course, everybody is already part of the hype. Everybody gets access to whatever the cell phone offers, or whatever the mobile phone offers. That's why for now, for example, it's very difficult to I mean, it depends on the kind of person that you are, but it's very difficult to keep up with the times if you don't have a smartphone, for example, because everything is already out in there, 'di ba? And relating to that is, of course, the way that we produce texts right now in linguistics, which is, what kind of data are we having? How does this, those are questions that we are asking right now as linguistics majors. You're supposed to be questioning how does this develop the dynamic, what kind of words are coming out, how are we actually, what are the ways that we represent ourselves online. So it shifts and it changes the way that we understand the world and the people around us already. Ano? So number, I think, common or general na pag-usapan natin before is, of course, real time, it's live. So it can happen at the, cliche as it is, touch of a button. The second one is that it's very accessible. And the third one is that it's already multimedia. So broadcast, for example, is, involves a lot of people actually at the back end, right? So there are your video editors, there is your manager, there is your floor manager, for example. So everything is set up in a chaotic but also organized situation. So that's the nice thing about being on media. Um the nicer parts is that it can already involve photography and others. So I would like to show you some samples online. So, hindi. One of There are some tips that I'll be sharing in here. So for example, when you search online, one of the we will be talking about the hyperlink later, and then the tail. Actually, it's easier for you to just put the site in. So for example, you're looking for articles that comes from Rappler. So you know that the website is rappler.com. You put a colon in there, and then you can put the keyword in there, and then it will signal Google that whatever you're looking for must come from the website rappler.com. So for example, let's look for panagbenga, myself as the byline. So when you do this, for example, when you are in, maybe some of you might venture journalism later on or something. Here is a sample work that I did. Okay. Uh so ang nangyari dito is, for example, because we are from Baguio, I think everybody is aware of the panagbenga. We start very early in the morning. So of course, all of the journalists and all of the writers and photographers have to be there at around. I leave house at around 3 because I am from La Trinidad. So we must be there at around 4 or 4:30. Coffee in hand with a very huge with a backpack or something. The thing with other set, I would like to share my experience, because I think the difference with other outfits is that, for example, with Inquirer, because sila usually yung mga kasama namin, or Inquirer or Sun, or yeah, is that you can see that there is a separate writer, but the writer is not with us because he or she is working in a certain area or certain place. He or she is watching from session more or less. And then kaming mga kami, the ones with the camera, we have to stay in DILG in the sa may banda ng Panagbenga Park where the parade happens. So the thing about this is that because of the shift or because of these changes online, even the way that we work are also affected. So how does this affect us? We are starting to do everything to all together. So for example, in Rappler, we are trained or we are required to have a set of skills that will make you work individually with no help from others, especially if you are a stringer or if you are a city correspondent, which I used to do. Ang mangyayari niyan, everything will be yours. So what happens is while the thing is ongoing, so these photos were taken in the morning. The nice thing is that I do not know what applications you are fond of or that you are using. But of course, for example, in terms of photography, yung mabilis na mag-send sa editor, Viber is very effective. So what we usually do is I send it over to Viber. Why? Because they need to put a watermark. So you call this a watermark, and then while you are in there and you are reporting, you snap the photos already. So maganda mag-snap dito because the parade is still warming up or they are still setting up, and it's from the sunrise. So it's really good. The colors are very good. The sun is still the sun is still young. You know, everybody is still excited, everybody is anxious because we're going to start a competition, and then everybody is still setting up and everybody looks fresh, so magandang magstay doon. So you take the photos and then you send them to the editor, and while you are doing that, you're also taking some of the quotes. Okay, so before you do that, you take a photo, ano muna kayo, ang tawag dito, you interview first. But more or less, the introduction is already written. So, the journalist must have written the intro already, and then idadagdag mo na lang the other data later on. So while the thing is ongoing, so as you can see oh my god, I'm so young there. The article is quite short, but it must be filled with pictures. Ayan. So as you can see, for in terms of quality, this photo is not so bright or vibrant as the like the others because it's taken from a phone. So 2015, I don't remember kung anong ayan. So while the thing is ongoing, where are the other photos? But isa lang ang meron. You take the you keep taking the photos as it goes, parang ganyan, ano. So those are the things that changes, or those are the things that are different when you are already going online. So those are the exciting parts. This is already the next year. So the next year, I stopped doing the panagbenga, I think in 2018. I ang hirap, 'di ba? What made me stop was teaching because I am in school until around 8 or 9 p.m. Then when you go home, may gagawin ka pa, tas kinabukasan, gising ka ng alas 4. So I stopped doing it. Ayan, so ayan, so as you can see, it starts from here. Si ano yata to? Si Miss Baguio na yung nakijoin ng Binibini. Ay no, Miss Universe Philippines. Yan. So while it's ongoing, you take more and more photos and you keep sending the editor via Viber so that the file is intact. The pixels are intact. Okay, so those are the things that you also need to consider. We'll get to the article in a bit, the technical terms. Okay, so all right, finally it's interactive because of the idea of the hyperlink, which I just showed to you a while ago. So when you're going to talk about CMC or stuff online, there are what's this the primary mechanism. that makes the internet or the web very special is the linking of the various elements of a lengthy or complex work that introduces multiple points of view that adds depth and detail. So I hope you can see that on I think if you've read Rappler articles, you've seen that other outfits are not usually if the paper or if the outfit or the organization is usually online, makikita mo yan sa site nila. But there are some that are yung mga meron silang printed version, wala talaga. The comparison is the traditional journalism guides the reader through a linear perspective. So you are reading from top to bottom. And if you end the article, you're done. You are done with the article. However, when you are an online journalist, you want to make your reader become participants. And when they become participants, they can click their way through a hyperlink set of pages. So pwede nilang i-explore. They can go over and they can go around different areas or different parts of the web. For example, here as I was saying a while ago, when you're going to the hyperlink that we're saying is that if it's the traditional journalism, if it's traditional journalism, you read from top to bottom. So from there, diretso ka sa baba, tapos na, 'di ba? There's nothing else in there that will alert you to check out other parts, parang ganyan. But you can find the other layout here. We'll talk about the layout later. However, because of as I was saying a while ago, because online journalism is supposed to be interactive, it will lead you to there are many hyperlinks that will lead you anywhere. For example, here, read in photos, so it will lead you outside. I'm going down. There's another article in there that you might be interested in. Ayun, here the other photos pala. So ayan, so while the event is ongoing, you take the pictures just like this and then you keep sending it. During this time medyo okay na yung photos because ano tawag dito? There's a new app. I do not know if you are aware of that. That's a very nice app where you take a photo and then what's this? You use your DSLR and then it transfers you can bluetooth it to your phone, and it's mabilis. It takes less than 2 minutes. Pero kasi if the DSLR, like if it's Canon, 'di ba, ang lakas nung ang taas ng ano niya, mataas yung pixels niya, medyo mabigat siya. So for example, this photo, I remember this was very heavy. So what happens usually is that you also have to find a way to work with your editor. My editor here is no longer with Rappler. Her name is Wyatt Ong. She's one of the first people that Maria Reza had in her original team for Rappler. So she was the editor before for Life and Style. I remember she's very efficient. Ang galing niya, ang saya niyang ka-work. I think many things about online journey I really learned from her, which we would take photos first of the she would let you scroll down your gallery in your DSLR. Sasabihin niya, patingin ng mga shots mo, and then she'll say, I don't like that. That's not good. You send that one. I like that. You look for the one with I saw something with the girl na naka-red na ano, yun ang isend mo sa akin. So she knows what she wants or what she needs, and then she's going to ask it from you. So actually before the article is still out, Rappler or the other outfits would want to show that they are the first one, na kami ang naunang nandoon or kami yung naunang magdadala. So nagpo-post na yan sa Facebook or nagpo-post na yan sa Twitter, usually sa Twitter, minsan sa Facebook, at saka meron silang yung live, ay meron silang yung sa IG wala pang stories yata that time eh. But on Facebook, I'm sure meron siya. Let's try to see. Um Wait lang ha. So they would post stuff online so that it becomes ayan, so wait lang. Sharing back. So when it's going there, ayan, nagpo-post sila. So but this was already 2017. So Ayan, lumalabas siya. Kylie's Baguio girl. Just shout there, Kylie! Ate Kylie! I there's a suggestion by if some of you will get into journalism or will get into a work like this, I suggest something. My editor was the one who taught me to address everybody ate or girl or ano the the close stuff. So I've worked with Kylie before, but I'm sure she doesn't remember. I don't I mean she's very nice, and then we work a little bit. I remember when I was doing this, sabi nung edit, yun nga, yung turo niya, tawagin mo siya by, by ate, kahit mas matanda ko or something. So, I said, Ate Kylie. And then she said, Uy. But Kylie is a very nice person. She remembers everybody. So, ayan, those are the things that happen. Now, um, what are the key parts in this? Kindly take note because they might not, yeah, they are not in your module. So, the first one, of course, is your headline. So, your headline is no longer similar to the basic ones. This is from Midland. So Midland is very traditional. So you can see DepEd explores ways to make blended learning accessible. So it adheres to the key principle basic tenets of headlining, yung length, what is this, on journalism jargon. Wala siyang jargon na ginamit diyan. Let's look for articles that has jargons in it. Jargons, what is the jargon for father? Ay, for father, for mayor. Kung tingnan ko sinong observant dito, anong tawag sa journalism pag mayor? Si Magalong, Baguio, they will not say Baguio mayor. They will say Baguio dad, 'di ba? Have you observed that? Conference becomes confab. Those are journalism or headline jargons that we are using. So the shorter the better, and then you can use those jargons. So pag mayor dad ang tawag nila diyan, conference becomes confab. What other words? Mga ganyan, ano? So that's traditional Jorn. However, because you know that the internet is keyword based, keywords ang gamit, dapat nakastick ka sa keywords. So for example, when you write the headline for this, you know that the event is Panagbenga 2016. So people might type Panagbenga 2016. That's what you're going to put in your headline. So it's the very first one. We call this H1 or headline 1 because headline 1 or H1s are the first things that Google will send to. Now, this is the story kasi about Google. So, when you are doing how do I say this one in a very basic way? Um Google is very fast, ano? For example, a while ago when we type rappler.com Panagbenga Layugan Baguio, that's a very limited search, no? Limited na yan. There were 3,120 results that came out in half a second, 0.42 seconds, no? So nung lumabas yung in 0.42 seconds, ang parang mangyari dyan will be, you send Google an alert. So you tell them, okay, I want to search for rappler.com Panagbenga Layugan Baguio. Google has what we call spiders, and the spiders will go around the different articles or the different sites, and it will creep. That's a Google word. It will creep into the different articles, and it will bring it back to you. So for example, nag-type ka ng CMC COVID. There were 5,820,000,000 results that came out in 0.69 seconds. What does that mean? When we typed COVID became the search, or COVID became the keyword na sinabi mo kay Google, send out your spiders to look for everything that's related to COVID. So, when you type that, Google will take that. Kaya nga, sabi ko 'di ba, I always tell you, Google is really about linguistics. Ang tawag nga natin sa semantics yan. Kaya nga ang tawag natin sa LSM, LSI, latent semantic indexing, because when you know how to use your keywords properly, it will bring you up there, and then that's what I will talk to you about later on. So Once you type COVID, it will go around, no, ha, na magra-round yan, tatakbo na yung mga spiders. So the spiders will look for the different, will look for different pages that are related or that includes COVID. And as Google advances, as time advances, Google is finding more and more ways and more parameters to make sure that the things that you need will be brought to you. That's why even if you did not, even because you are in the Philippines, Google already knows this based on your IP address, based on your recent searches, for example. It will tell you, no? So, alam yung taga-Philippines ako, pero nilabas yung article number one is Robredo in Rappler. Because probably my previous searches or my previous interactions in Google had been about with Rappler, had been about with Robredo, etc., etc. So everything that you do, actually your IP address, your recent searches, or the things that you look for, they will all come out, or they will all help Google right now, ha. But I think this update just came out in 2013 or 20, I'm not sure if it's 2013 or 2014, yung LSI, yung latent semantic indexing. That was the year that I was leaving advertising. I remember that because we had a whole week of, I had a whole week of workshop related to LSI. So, semantics, look at that. That's our course. That's us. That's linguistics. Semantics ang ginagamit kasi ng ng IT. Kaya nga ang IT hindi malayo yan sa AB English. I mean in terms of word use, ha. Kasi yung data, pati yung words na ginagamit nila, I think Shireen was an IT student. You ask her, there are, even the words that they are using, there is a stylistics involved in there, but it's a different it's a different method, of course. Meron silang tinatawag na semantics, pero different method din. So even the keywords that we are, mhm. Yeah, that's true. So, Dane was sharing, working on a news website, the technician new SEO, SEO search engine optimization. Uh, Headlines need to connect to keywords, and you have to add keyword tags to the back end code of the article. That's correct. If it's in advertising, we always have what we call the meta tags. This, I know, even in journalism, sorry, not just in everything, what Dane is referring to is what we call meta tags. So the meta tags are the backend code of the article, or it will help inform Google what is contained in the article. So the views that month increased threefold because the website was appearing in the first page. Ayun. So actually the competition for everybody, including thank you Dane for sharing, including in journalism like Rappler, the point or the competition is how do you get to the to the first page. Kasi ayan, leading me to this, when you type something in Google, like a search or a query, query ang tawag natin doon, yung nasa search. Actually, we stop on the first page. Very rarely do we get to the other pages, 'di ba? Lalo na yung beyond the top 10. Parang never na, parang ang hirap na umabot ka sa 11 and all. Ang competition will be how do you get to the first page, especially if it's timely. So what Rappler does is, that's why Rappler is quite strong. I don't know if you agree with the tenets of Rappler, of course. I'm just saying that in terms of method, okay pa din siya. It's very strong. They have a lot of, yun nga, city correspondence and stringers. Here in Baguio, for example, the stringers are Frank Simatu, who is also from UB, and myself. But Frank Simatu was UB Science High, not UB College, and myself. So when they need anything that's related to Baguio or Benguet or La Trinidad, for example, they just message any of us. And if it's related to something else, like for example, if it's related to Dagupan, then they message someone else. If it's related to Davao, for example, they message someone else. So ang lakas ng reach nila because they have like regional correspondents or city correspondents that will do the work for them. So parang eto, yun ang point nung editor that time. She wants to be on the first page. That's why she wants to make sure that she has the photos real time so that it will come out on her. We will be the first one that will come out on the internet or in social media. So those are key things to look into. Now, this is what we call the H1 or the headline. of course it needs to contain your important keywords already. So as you can see what are the keywords ba. If it's a panagbenga float, yun na panagbenga float. So the word panagbenga is there, the year is there 2016, and then the word float is there. And then you just arrange it in a way that it will become creative. So stunning floats in full bloom at Panagbenga 2016. Very simple, no need for jargons as long as the keywords are there, because Google will not is not very keen with jargons. And as you can see, I think this is already very common. You need to put in photos colon. Everybody is doing this right now. Philippine Star, Philippine Inquirer. But to be very fair, I think it was Rappler who started it. Sila yung mga nagsiuna diyan. Just to give a little bit of insider views, Rappler has been doing this, 'di ba, ever since talagang online na sila. I just graduated from college when this started. Just to share a personal story, I got into Rappler because of Midland, and I think I've shared this with some of you before. So I kept publishing. I When I was in college, when I was your age, when I was like you, I would constantly contribute in Midland until eventually I wrote something about Tito Soto, about Soto copying. I think the article was entitled Soto copying, about plagiarism, what is this about the intellectual, about being an intellectual based on what you translate from what other people wrote. And then it caught the eye of, ganun lang, it's serendipity. There was an editor who was in town. There was an editor who was in town, and then she picked the Midland, and then she found me on Facebook, and then she gave me a call. And then they said, do you want to start, do you want to do this for us? And then I said yes. And then ayan, so since 2013, 2012, 2013, I've worked for them, and then so every now and then they will send. Pero yun nga, when I was teaching, medyo doon din ako lumaylo. So kung gusto niyo talaga magsulat, teaching is not the right job for you. Mauubos ang oras mo. Ayan. So that's your H1. Now, of course, you have your time in there. This is your dateline. In journalism talaga, ito ang dateline. Yung traditional journalism. La Trinidad, comma, Benguet, and then there is this is not a hyphen. This is not a hyphen. This is a dash. Okay, so the dash are two hyphens. So this is the dateline that will introduce your article. So sa online hindi natin usually ginagamit yung dateline, pero meron tayong date dyan, at saka yung place naman parang nakatag na yan. And then you have to put already the article here. As you can see, articles are very short, not just for if well, that's a very basic idea in journalism, but you can also translate that, or you can bring that to online journalism. It needs to be quite short. So one sentence, two sentence paragraphs are ideal. As you can see here, this paragraph, of course, is an introduction, so it's quite long. But this paragraph is just one sentence. This is one sentence. This is one sentence. Dapat short and sweet. Yun ang term nila, short and sweet. So, yun yung H1 na sinasabi. Ayan. So, this is the H1 again, as I've said a while ago. What is the first thing that people will type when they are looking for Northern Blossom, which was my research before? They will type Northern Blossom, 'di ba? So they will usually type Northern Blossom Atok, Northern Blossom Baguio, Northern Blossom Benguet, Northern Blossom how to get there. Those are the keywords. So, yung sabi ni Dane kanina, for you to get to the first page, you need to put all of this. Now, I introduced to you a word a while ago, which is latent semantic indexing. Ayan. Or latent semantic analysis. This is fun because it has math. Um, it will help. Ayan. So these were the terms that I was saying to you a while ago. You have your page title, H1 and H2 tags, your URL address, meta tags, images, alt text, first paragraph, link and anchor text, and last paragraph of text. All of these are very important when you're going to be doing online journalism. Dapat alam mong gawin lahat yan in a few hours or in a few minutes. So kindly take note of that. So I said a while ago already, the headline or the page title, it's actually also your yung nasa taas niya. It's your section in journalism, 'di ba? So as you can see here, there. So section, leading to life and style, leading to travel. Ito yung article. Usually nasa bita ko ng life and style. So sections, life and style, travel. So parang dito mo rin ma-establish yung sarili mo as a writer in the future. When if some of you will decide to do this, that's how you establish yourself also in a certain area. I don't really want I well, this is nice, but personally I would like to go somewhere up there. I really wanted to do investigative and personality interview before, but you have to be based in Manila. There are many people, they have many staff, or they have many people doing that. And so what happened is that you have to do something that you can do only from your work area. So um right as of now, for example, they let me do Baguio stuff like the Panagbenga, etc., Kaili, etc. And then later on they added me to travel, and then right now I am their in-house music critic. So pero wala na, no one's reading music critic. So I think the last thing I did for music was Dua Lipa. So um, this is your H1, as I have said. Ilagay, latent semantic indexing will be how do you use all of the keywords in one article so that they appear on the first page. So of course, when the first, ililista ko muna usually. Parang, well, when you get used to it, it just naturally happens when you write. But if you are going to follow a process, or if you want to follow a process, you try to imagine first what are the keywords ba that people will type if they want to go to Northern Blossom Flower Farm in Atok, Benguet. So of course, the name, Northern Blossom Flower Farm, or they will also use the word NBFF, di ba? So, wala ba ako nilagay na NBFF dito? Ayan, NBFF. And then, you will also be, what are the other words, how to get there? Asan yun? Or directions. Ayan. So, you need to think of the words that you're going to be putting. So, that is LSI. How, all of these things will be in your article later on. So, this is your H1 or headline 1. Ang H2 naman are the subtitles. So, this is an H2. Due to public demand is an H2. Frosty Flowers is an H2. Those are H2. God's Work is an H2. H2, getting there pala ang nila ang ginamit ang nakalagay diyan, and others. So that's the H2 that we are referring to, no, in latent semantic indexing. Next, URL address, very important. So when you're doing this, yung when we send the article, there's a social media editor or social media staff. What are they going to do? They will make the tail or the URL. Now the URL is very important. Look at this. So you start with your website. So rappler.com slash, what's the section? Life and style. It's there. What's the next section? Travel. Now, after you put all of the key sections there, I hope you can see this clearly. Doon mo na ilalagay yung tail. Now, in online or in CMC, spaces are represented by hyphens. So as you can see in here, life hyphen and hyphen style slash means going down or going there. Going down to or going there to travel slash going down to northern hyphen blossom hyphen flower hyphen farm hyphen atok hyphen benguet. So madali siyang hanapin kasi it will also tell Google. That's why wag yung when you will be having your blogs in the future, for example, you also need to edit this. Even your social media, I'll show you. These are my social media accounts. Even social media must be like that. IJ. So dapat yung user mo dito kaparehas lang ng ano mo ng main account mo dito. Ayan. You see, this is something also that I learned from them which was quite valuable. So everything, all of my social media are all using IJ Layugan lang. Parang ganyan. So kayo kung magkakaiba yung usernames nyo, pwede nyong palitan or pwede nyong tignan. Pinterest, even Pinterest, it's IJ Layugan. What else? I think everything, even I'm not sure if it includes my LinkedIn. Yeah. So you personalize the URL of your profile. So there it is. So that everything it's also nice so that hindi mo na parang people will not be confused about it at the same time when they will be going over your accounts or your profile. Say, that's his or that's hers. Very ano lang siya. It's a very nice and useful tip, especially because right now everything is using a handle. Yung nagsa-start sa handle yon, hindi yung ano ang mo, ano ang username mo. You call that a handle, especially the one for Instagram and Twitter. So, yun, that's the URL address. Meta tags is what Dane was saying a while ago already. Meta tags can be at the back end or at yung back end niya. These are keywords. There's are also keywords. Let's see if they have some keywords in here. Wala. Ayan. So the meta tags are probably at the back end. No, hindi siya visible dito. And then you also have but the meta tags are just keywords. For example, flower, atok, tourism, those are meta tags. Okay? Images, alt text, when you save a photo, naturuan, parang nasanay na din lang din ako, whenever we save a photo, you need to put the keywords also. So, usually, di ba, photos, when you save photos, they usually start with IMG or DSC, right? And then you just save them kung ano-anong pangalan. You're not supposed to do that. Let's look for I want to show you a sample of how I send photos to Rappler with alt text. Hindi ko naman finalo. Wait lang ha. Wala ba ditong medyo hindi meta tag yung iba. Sometimes it is the editor who does that or yung mga nandoon na, but I'll show you something. Medyo hindi ko pala siya inayos, hindi ko inayos yung meta tags, but this is how alt text looks like. So this is an article that I did about La Trinidad for tourism again. They so they will ask you to send the photos in Dropbox because sa Dropbox nare-retain yung quality, nare-retain yung nare-retain yung quality nung photo. As you can see, it's hyphen Trinidad hyphen Benguet. Hyphenated lahat. Okay, gets ko na. I remember na why we did this. I was not the one who did the meta tags for the photos. It was the editor. So this one is another article about Badok in Ilocos. So anong ginawa dito? You put the photos together, but it must be Badok. It must include the words Badok hyphen island. And what the editor will be doing will be dadagdagan lang niya yan ng keywords. Parang ganito. Parang ganyan, gets nyo? So, people who will be typing Badok Island how to get there, when they will click photos or images, there are chances na lalabas yan. Let's see nga kung Northern Blossom. Let's have an experiment. Because I think they geotag Northern Blossom. uh Google images. Let's go to images. Let's type Northern Blossom Flower Farm, and then let's type images. See, my photo was the very first one. So ayan, this is geotagged. So if you click that, open image in new tab, makikita mo doon. Eto yon. So, Northern Blossom Flower Farm. Saan ang galing yan? Galing, ay sorry, hindi pala siya nakashare. Ayan, when I typed a while ago, Northern Blossom Flower Farm, actually, you can also, another way that you can do this is to go incognito. Because sometimes Saor, it's not actually, it might not be very accurate. So you go here, and then you type that, Northern Blossom Flower Farm, then you go to images, siya pa rin. So, yung article, ito pa rin ang first na lumabas. Meaning, this is what Google thought to be the most accurate, to be the most reliable, and to be the most complete in terms of information and detail. So, yun ang importansya ng properly geotagged articles. Ayan. So, that's how you get to the first page. It's really competitive if you are in online journey. You have to make sure that you get to the first. That's why Google, for example, what's this, Rappler knows this. That's why they are the ones who actually tell us, take photos of yourselves. Pero makikita mo yun kung medyo cute ka. Papagawa nila yan. Pag hindi, mapapansin mo, sabi nila, picture ka nga ng model dyan, parang ganon. Pero we did this because we just wanted to show we wanted to show height. This is Mount Timbak kasi. This one is Pulag and this one is Atok mismo. So, ganyan. The photography of the tour guides. Okay, it's almost time, so let's close this. So after that, you have to have so meta tags, images, alt text. First paragraph of text is very important. In journalism, we call this your lead, LEAD or LEDE. So it must contain, again, LSI, the most basic information about the article. The word Baguio must be there, Panagbenga Grand Float Parade must be there, Session Road must be there, all of the keywords that you think will be usable. Here then, for example, sometimes we also include a one-liner. This is not a teaser. We usually call this a nut graph. So the nut graph is short of an introduction to what the feature is all about. For example, here, ano ang nut graph niya? See more pictures of the gorgeous floats plus the celebs who came to join in on the fun. This one, how a humble cut flower farm in Atok Benguet is upping the local tourism landscape. Dito mo ibibenta yung article mo in one sentence. So you have to write this smartly also. Okay? And finally, you have your link and anchor text. I think I told you this already. So link and anchor text will be some links that will lead you somewhere or lead you anywhere. Pero dito parang wala akong makita. Wala siya dito. Meaning there are no articles related to Atok or related to Benguet in this article. So hindi siya nalagyan. And finally, you have the last paragraph of the text. So the last paragraph of the text, look at the some in journalism, it also includes your bio note. So parang ganyan, you have your closing, and then it has the anchor, Rappler, and then at the bottom part they usually include a bio. So your bio will include usually your short background. It's not us who write this, actually, it's the editor. So teaches art history and quality research at UB, alumni of PCGE, writes about science, etc. Pero this blog is already wala na because of the DDS. And then that's why I also changed my handle because something happened before. Ayan, so that's how you use this in those are some of the things that you can use and you can research or study when you're doing CMC for non-literary text or for join. So I think this will be helpful also for your non-lit. Any questions? I'll be giving you a quiz on Wednesday as promised, and then you'll have your activity on Friday, and then you will be submitting also your reports by Saturday. Saturday. Any questions?